September 7, 1996. Las Vegas. A boxing match just ended. Thousands of people flooded the streets. Outside the MGM Grand, a black BMW slowed down. Four shots rang out, and the most famous rapper in the world was dying. Less than 6 months later, history will repeat itself. 3,000 miles away, a different city, a different car, the same outcome: two men, two cities, one war. And the music world will never be the same. To understand what happened, we have to go back to the beginning. The late 1980s, hip-hop was young, raw, and hungry. On the East Coast, cities like New York were producing a new sound: hard, lyrical, street-born pottery. Rappers like Rakim and Big Daddy Kane. And later, a heavy-voiced storyteller from Brooklyn named Christopher Wallace. The world would come to know him as the notorious Big. 3,000 miles away, a different sound was rising. West Coast hip-hop, smoother, slower, built over deep funk bass lines and the quiet heat of California summer. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, the voice of Compton, Long Beach, and Los Angeles. For most of the early 1990s, these two worlds existed side by side. Different sounds, different styles, but no war. That was about to change. At the center of this story stood two men who would become the symbol of the conflict. On the West Coast, Tupac Amaru Shakur, born in New York but forged in California. Intense, political, fearless, he was not just a rapper, he was a force of nature. On the East Coast, Christopher Wallace, a storyteller from Brooklyn whose voice carried the weight of the streets. They were not enemies yet. In the early 1990s, they were actually friends. That friendship would not survive what was coming. The story of this war cannot be told without two men who stood behind the scenes. On the West Coast, Mario and Suge Knight, founder of the Death Row Records, a towering figure who ran his label with absolute power. In 1995, while Tupac sat in prison after being convicted of assault, Suge Knight paid his bail. The price? A record deal. Tupac signed and was free. But now he belonged to Death Row. On the East Coast, Sean Puffy Combs, founder of Bad Boy Records, sleek, strategic. He had built one of the most powerful labels in hip-hop and signed Biggie to its roster. These two men did not get along. The moment that changed everything came at 1995 Source Awards in New York, the biggest night in hip-hop. The East Coast crowd was loud and ready. Then Suge Knight walked onto the stage to accept an award, and instead of a speech, he issued a challenge. He said, "If you don't want the owner of your label dancing in your video or on your album, come sign with Death Row." He didn't say Puffy's name. He didn't have to. The crowd booed. Puffy was sitting in the audience. The insult had been delivered on national television. But the true spark had come earlier. In November 1994, Tupac was robbed and shot 5 times in a recording studio lobby in New York City. He survived, but he came out of that hospital bed believing someone had set him up. He pointed his suspicion at the people closest to him: Biggie, Puffy, and their circle. He had no proof, but in Tupac's mind, the suspicion had already become conviction. Then in 1996, he released a diss track called Hit 'Em Up. It was not subtle. It was not careful. It was a declaration of total war aimed directly at Biggie, Bad Boy Records, and the entire East Coast. The music world had never heard anything like it. After Hit 'Em Up, there was no going back. The East Coast fired back, the West Coast responded harder. Radio stations started choosing sides. Magazines write provocative covers. The media turned what began as a music dispute into a national story. And in doing so, they made it bigger and more dangerous than it needed to be. But what made this war truly dangerous was what existed beneath the music. Death Row Records had deep connections to the Bloods, one of the most powerful street gangs in America. Bad Boy Records had ties to the Crips. What started as a rivalry between two record labels had pulled in the streets. Real people, real violence, real consequence. By 1996, the war was everywhere, and it was no longer just about music. September 7, 1996, Las Vegas. Tupac attended the Mike Tyson boxing match alongside Suge Knight. Later that night, as their car stopped at a red light, a white BMW pulled alongside them and opened fire. Tupac was struck multiple times. He was rushed to hospital. 6 days later, on September 13, 1996, Tupac Amaru Shakur died. He was 25 years old. The world went silent, and then the questions began. Who ordered the shooting? Was he connected to the East Coast, to the streets, to someone inside his own circle? Investigators worked the case for years. No one was ever charged. 6 months passed. March 9, 1997, Los Angeles. Biggie Smalls had flown to California for a music industry event. After midnight, as his SUV left the Peterson Automotive Museum, a dark Chevrolet Impala pulled alongside. 4 shots. Christopher Wallace, the notorious B.I.G., was gone. He was 24 years old. 2 of the greatest voices in the hip-hop history, dead within 6 months of each other. 2 open murder cases, no arrest, no convictions. To this day, neither case has been solved. When people look back at this chapter in music history, they ask one question. What was the East Coast versus West Coast war really about? Some say it was about money, 2 powerful labels competing for dominance in a billion-dollar industry. Some say it was about ego, 2 men, Suge Knight and Puffy Combs, who refused to back down once the cameras were watching. Some say it was the media that turned the music rivalry into a war by choosing sides and printing every insult. And perhaps it was all of these things. But what is certain is this. The war silenced 2 men who had barely begun. It stole from music 2 voices that can never be replaced. And it left behind a wound that hip-hop has ever carried. What would have happened if they had lived? But now I want to hear from you. Do you think this war could have been prevented? Or was it always heading toward tragedy? Let me know in the comments below. And if there's a piece of music history or any hidden story you want us to look next, drop it in the comments, because sometimes the next story and past the log begins with your words.